It was an ordinary school day, one of those days when everything seems to go as usual. Classes, friends, and the familiar sound of the bell marking the beginning and end of each lesson. However, that day something changed, although I didn't realize it until much later. I remember it was late in the afternoon when I stayed behind in the library to finish some homework. Most of the other students had already left, and there were just a few of us left. There was something strange in the air, a heavy silence that wasn't normal. The library had always been quiet, but this time, something felt different, something I couldn't quite pinpoint. At first, I didn't pay much attention. I sat by the window, where the light was beginning to fade. I focused on my work, but every time I looked up, I noticed something that didn't seem right. From the corner of the room, near the entrance door, I could see an old clock hanging on the wall. It wasn't a digital clock, but one of those large ones with metal hands and Roman numerals. What caught my attention was that, no matter how much I stared at it, the hands seemed to be moving too quickly. I thought it was just a trick of the light, or that my mind was playing games with me. But the feeling of unease kept growing. Minutes passed, and for some reason, I stood up from my seat. Walking over to the clock was an impulse I couldn't explain. I moved slowly, still watching it. When I got close enough, I noticed something terrifying. The hands weren't just moving quickly, they were moving backward. They were going in reverse, as if trying to undo time, as if they were denying every minute that passed. My heart started to race, but I tried to stay calm. I looked around, hoping to see a teacher or maybe a friend, but there was no one. The library was empty. The air was cold, much colder than I remembered. Suddenly, the clock made a strange sound, like a faint tick-tock that was way too loud for the silence of the room. It was as if time had stopped for a second. But at the same time, it was speeding up at an alarming rate. I tried to look at the clock more closely, but something made me turn around abruptly. There was no reason for me to do it, but I did. When I turned, I saw something that froze me in place. The entrance door was closed, but something was touching it from the other side. It looked like a hand, or at least that's what it seemed. It was there, knocking slowly on the door, but there couldn't be anyone there. How could anyone be outside if there was no sound at all? The sound of the hand knocking continued, rhythmic, with an eerie cadence. My body was tense, my legs didn't want to move, but my mind told me to leave. So I made the decision to run. But before I did, I glanced once more at the clock. And that was when I saw it, a faint reflection, barely noticeable, in the glass of the window that was right in front of the clock. It wasn't my reflection. It was the silhouette of a person, but there was no one there. When I realized it, I froze. I finally managed to leave the library. I ran down the hallway toward the exit, and as I crossed the door, the outside air felt much warmer than usual. I looked back, but the library door was already closed. I never went back to that place. To this day, I'm not sure if what I experienced was real or just a product of my mind. Since that day, I've heard the clock in the library still works in the same strange way, or so I've been told, but I never went back to see it for myself. And though it may sound like a simple story, the fear of not knowing what really happened has never left me. All I know is that sometimes, in the quiet of the night, I feel like time keeps moving in the opposite direction.